Hello everybody, my name's N.J. Pawley and I'm a horse consultant and horse trainer from Park City, Utah. And today we're going to talk about some of the stuff you need to do to get your horse ready for the horseshoer so he wants to come back more than once. This is Athena and we're going to do a little work on her feet today, and I'm going to show you kind of how you want your horse to act and some of the things that you want to look for, maybe some trouble spots to fix before your horseshoer comes. The first thing is I want her to be able to stand nice. If she's not standing pretty good and she's acting like she's bothered, we're going to work her a little bit. And here at this really nice place, a friend of mine's place, we have a nice round corral. But you don't really need a round corral. You can actually use the end of your lead rope and do some groundwork with your horse on the end of the lead rope, and we'll probably cover that in another video. But today we're going to talk about the feet. So one of the big things we're going to do is probably, especially this time of year, you want to make sure that you fly spray your horses before your horseshoer comes, because you want the fly spray to activate pretty good. And you don't want your horse stinking, and you don't want him having to touch the horse and then rubbing his face and getting that fly spray and stuff in his face. So you want it to dry before he comes. So that's not something you want to be doing as your horseshoer is here and is underneath your horse, is spraying your fly spray with your horseshoer under it. There's quite a few ways to teach your horse how to pick up a foot, and I'm going to show you some of my favorite ways right here. I like to start clear up here and let my horse know I'm here. I also want to make sure my horse's attention is on me and bent around. And I'm going to work my hand all the way down the leg and start squeezing a little bit right here and get right into there. And by that point, my horse has got her foot up. So this is just a hoof pick that I made out of an old aluminum horseshoe. It's really strong. They don't break, they don't bend, especially in the wintertime when we're digging snowballs out of our horse's feet. You want something that you can really lever against. And it's pretty sharp, and I'll show you why you want it sharp. Is because when you get down in here, and you get down around this frog, you want to be able to get that dirt out of both sides of the edge of that frog like that. And if you have a flat, spade-shaped hoof pick, it's really hard to do. If you were really going to be cleaning on this foot, you'd want to get it in here and get it against your leg like this. And then you can get both hands in here and really pick. Now I don't know if you can tell how hard I'm pushing, but you can't push hard enough with one hand to hurt your horse's foot. If you can, your horse is probably lame already. So you really want to get in there and be aggressive about that and make sure you get all of that out of there, because that's where the thrush grows. She doesn't have any thrush. You can tell if your horse's foot is thrushy most of the time because it's got this real pungent odor and it stinks. And in this country, it tends to happen a little different because it's drier. A lot of times we'll get a little rainstorm or something, their feet will get wet, and then they'll get some hard packed dirt in the foot, and it'll hold the moisture in there, and that'll cause the thrush. In other places where they're standing in the wet all the time, they get the thrush around the white line and in both sides of the frog, and it's a little harder to treat. Here all you got to do is just keep your horse's feet clean and dry, and most of the time that'll keep it cured. But my favorite remedy for thrush is 1 part of Clorox bleach to 10 parts of water. And what I use is like a Dawn dishwashing detergent bottle like you would use to wash your dishes with. It's got the little squirter on the end of it. And that way you can hold that foot upside down and squirt that in there and make sure it gets good and soaked in. You don't want to use too much bleach because of course you don't want to scald your horse's skin. But 1 part to 10, generally that'll cure it in 1 or 2 times. So she's got quite a bit of foot on her. And we're not going to have any trouble putting a shoe on her today. Oh. Now if she starts acting up a little bit, I'm going to try to hold that foot for as long as I can. And I'm not going to drop it. I don't want her to get to thinking that that's bad. And of course, banging her toe on something hard like the ground, it's not such a big deal here on the sand. But on the hard ground, if you were just to drop that foot and bang her toe, it'd probably be a little uncomfortable for her. So I'm going to have some good horsemanship. And I'm just going to set it down. So now let's work on this mare's back feet a little bit. I like to do this, especially the first couple of times with these colts, not tied up. And I certainly wouldn't probably do it on a cross tie until I was pretty sure that my horse knew how to manage a cross tie. That's something that a horse doesn't, it's just like anything, we have to be taught about that. And so I'm going to make sure that my horse knows how to stand and knows how to yield to the pressure before I start putting a horse on a cross tie or any kind of tying him up. So, and you can see that this mare's just getting to where she kind of yields to that pressure. All right, so let's go back here, and it's the same thing. I'm going to make sure that my horse is bent around me a little bit when I do this. And I'm just going to reach down and work my way down that leg so she knows I'm coming. And the same thing, I'm going to kind of rub my hand over that chestnut and just continue to work my hand down. And then I'm going to get in as close as I can to her, because the way you keep from getting kicked is to keep as much contact on your horse as you can. Now I've got my lead rope over my arm, so in case she left, I've got her right there. Now I don't have it tied or anything. If you can't manage that, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll put it in my pocket. I'll stick it in my pocket or my belt loop. And then I'm going to just put that leg on my knee like that, and I'm going to rest it there. Now see how many points of contact I have with my horse? And I'm really not jacking her leg up. I'm trying to keep it as low as I can. And I'm going to take that hoof pick, and I'm going to go in there and really clean that foot out and make sure I get right down in there. Use my thumb if I have to. Get right down in there on both sides of that frog and push on that and really get all that material out. Sometimes this frog will grow up, sometimes this frog will grow up and it'll slough off. And that's a natural thing. So a lot of times between when your horseshoer comes, this part of this foot will be kind of hanging or flopping. It really, most of the time, doesn't cause a lot of problems. The only time you'd probably want to worry about it is if there was a serious case of thrush or if she was bleeding. I don't really like how she set that foot down, so I'm going to take it again. And then I'm going to hold it for a few seconds. And then I'm going to set it back down. So she knows that I kind of do that. I'm the boss of that. I've been shoeing horses for almost 20 years. And lately here, the last 5 or 6, I've only been doing my own and just a few selected clients. I do a lot of first-time shoeings on some colts. And as a kind of an ex-horseshoer, some of the things that really bugged me were people who would expect me to shoe their horses when they weren't home. That's kind of bad, because number one, you don't know what your horseshoer is doing when you're not there, and if something happened to him or your horse and you weren't there, that could kind of be a bad thing. So I always tried to schedule my horseshoeing when the owner of the horse was around. Also, it's best to have a nice, safe place. A nice, quiet, safe place, preferably in the shade on a hot day like this, but not necessarily. Some place that's relatively level, and some place that if you don't have concrete or asphalt or something like that, and that kind of depends on the horseshoer. Some of them like to do it on that, some of them like to do it on the sand, but someplace dry is always best. You want your horse to have good manners, and generally it always works better to hold your horse for your horseshoer than to have them tied up. You can tell that this mare has spent a little time tied up, and also on the end of the lead rope she's got pretty good manners and she's pretty quiet. But a lot of horses just don't know how to manage it. So this comes with some practice. And you also want to stand, as your horseshoer goes around your horse, you want to stand on the same side of the horse that your horseshoer is working on. And that way, if your horse does kind of get spooked or something boogers him, he's not going to have a tendency to plow over your horseshoer. He's going to step away from both of you and kind of roll out away from your horseshoer. So that's kind of a good thing to know, because a lot of I've had horses roll right over the top of me because the owner is standing on the opposite side, banging on the horse, and the horse is paying attention to the owner, and the horse ends up rolling over the top of me and flattening me into the ground. So always stand on the same side that your horseshoer is standing on, and practice. Practice. Horseshoeing is a hard, miserable job, and as far as I'm concerned, there's not a horseshoer out there who's getting enough money. Well, a few, but most of them aren't getting enough money for what the job requires. And if you want to see your horseshoer more than twice, or more than once, if you want to see him twice, cut him a break and get your horse broke before he comes. Because there's tons of horses out there and there's not very many horseshoers.